American Express and Navy Federal combine to give you one of the most powerful funding sequences that you will find in the banking space. The reason this is important is because whether your goal is financial independence or generational wealth, we know at this point in time that the richest and most successful people in this economy are business owners. And one of the biggest barriers to business ownership is access to capital. So I want to give you a sequence that is going to take you from small business owner to multi-million-dollar business, potentially even to IPOing and getting all the capital you need the entire way through. So this video is going to be giving you some context. It's not going to be dug into the specific strategies for high credit limits with either one of these institutions per se in this video. What it's going to do is finally give you the hidden sequence of how you can go from somebody who literally has no financial support, investors, or backing, getting the capital that you initially need, scaling your business up to 6 and 7 figures, and even graduating it up beyond that. And if you want, taking that company public while getting access to all the funding you need along the way. So for those of you who aren't familiar, I am a banker by trade, a business banker to be exact. I have 10 plus years in banking and I have over 12 plus years in financial services. I am a certified business banker, private client banker, and I have a mortgage originator's license, life insurance license, and a FINRA investment license. So I've been all over the financial services space in retail banking specifically for well over a decade now. I've been helping many clients access capital in the business lending space, many of them in their inception, and some of them with 6, 7, and 8 figures in revenue in their business. So you're getting this content from somebody who actually does this for a living. This is not just some random dude on the internet giving you random information that sounds like it works. That having been said, this is strictly for educational purposes only, entertainment purposes only. I'm not specifically your banker or advisor, so I can't technically say that I'm guiding you in that way. The information I'm providing you could be very useful. It's up to you to do your own due diligence. So American Express and Navy Federal are two of the most popular financial institutions on the internet, especially when it comes to the credit funding and high limit credit space. And it's for good reason. These two financial institutions are powerhouses when it comes to accessing the financial resources that you need to scale out your personal credit and personal finances, as well as access to capital on the business side. We need to discuss a couple quick things before we dive into this combination of how to put these two together to get the capital you need on the initial level, because you may not have investors, you may not have private money, you may not have people lined up to give you money for your business idea or to help you sustain your business that you may already have. So before we get into the weeds on how to put American Express and Navy Federal together, we need to talk about why you need access to capital. And number two, we need to talk about the sequence that's so important that I feel has been hidden from many of us in Main Street for a long time. And I've finally gotten to a point in my career where I'm shaking hands and rubbing shoulders with the kind of people that's getting me to understand how capital is accessed at the highest levels and being able to reverse engineer that all the way back to where some of us are just getting started today. So the first thing we need to discuss really quickly is why we need access to capital. Access to capital is crucial for small business owners because it provides the funds for day-to-day operations, growth, and survival during emergencies. It allows businesses to cover costs like inventory and payroll, invest in new technology and expansion, and build resilience against economic downturns. So operational necessities, day-to-day expenses, and cash flow management, growth and expansion. So investment, market opportunities, and innovations. So stability and resilience, emergency funds, navigating challenges, and competitive advantages. Having access to capital can be a huge competitive advantage. Some of the challenges is going to be stricter requirements for access to capital in the lending and the banking space. And there's external economic factors like rising interest rates, inflation. There's, of course, credit issues. There's a lot going on out there that's making it harder to access capital. So we know it's essential to have access to capital as a business owner. You cannot be credit averse. You cannot be scared to borrow money. You cannot be locked into a complex that tells you, oh, I don't want to owe anybody anything. That is a very antiquated and uneducated way to think about things. And I'm not trying to say that disrespectfully. I'm just saying that it's ignorance in its purest form. You really just don't know what you don't know. So with that having been said, what we need to cover now is the sequence of funding. And I'm not just talking about sequence like, oh, pull from this bank that pulls from this bureau and apply for this bank. And they go from, no. Not none of that cute internet stuff. We're talking about the sequence from inception of a business idea and an initial capital to get it off the ground, all the way up to potentially IPOing if you have that great of an idea or that great of a business, a product, or strategy, that kind of value that you're creating. That starts with American Express and Navy Federal and institutions like them. Getting access to the kind of capital, if you don't have anybody else that's willing to invest in your business, which many of us, that's the case. We don't have people lined up. We don't have people we can trust. We don't have big, strong networks. We don't have a bunch of private money lined up. We can't reach hedge funds and all this other stuff. So how do we get the initial capital that we need? Start by strong banking relationships. Navy Federal is going to be the first place you want to start, or an equivalent level credit union or community bank, because they're going to have the lowest barrier of entry. They're going to have the most flexible and the most accessible financial resources that you need to build out your banking relationships, build strong cash flow, which helps you access your initial credit products, quality credit cards, lines of credit. These things are going to all report on your financial background. So your credit report is going to be in your check systems. And EWS, well, EWS is more of a negative warning system, but it's going to be put out there that you're building strong banking relationships with credible financial institutions. So Navy Federal is going to be where you want to start, because it's not the house of high reasons for the house of high limits for no reason. This financial institution is going to give you access to some of the best credit cards at some of the highest limits with the lowest barrier of entry, meaning that you don't have to make tons and tons of money or have extremely exceptional credit to get a $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 credit limit. This is going to bridge you into the lines of credit. It's going to bridge you into the capital you need to see the beginnings of your business ideas or your business activity. This information getting reported on your credit report, this information building up in the background and getting your business off the ground into something viable is what's going to lead you into an expanded relationship with American Express. American Express is going to be one of the big boys in the financial space, in the banking space, in the lending space. So you can start there if you want to. Some of you may already be with American Express, but building up your data points with the Navy Federal or an equivalent financial institution where they have so many different pledge loan type of opportunities and high limit flagship credit card opportunities. These data points are what's going to make you look more appealing to American Express to get access to high limits out of the gate, or get over a certain hump that you may be stuck at with American Express when it comes to access to credit limits and more credit cards. American Express has also done a really good job at making itself more accessible to Main Street with its, by purchasing companies like Kabbage. So it has that line of credit that is really accessible for everyday small business owners. You want to use Navy Federal and the data points you build up there, again, your pledge loans, the high limit credit cards you get from them, to get in with American Express, get in the door and get quality credit cards with them, build out and bring some of the revenue you're hopefully generating at this point to American Express in their business banking relationship and in their consumer banking relationship. That's where they're going to be looking when they underwrite you for their line of credit. Are you following me so far? So this is going to be your sequence. I'm going to get Navy Federal or equivalent institution to fund my business initially. And then I'm going to generate revenue that I can start bringing over to American Express. Navy Federal doesn't need to be nurtured very much to get quality credit limits. You want to build some data points with them. You want to have some good income flowing in, etc. But once that relationship's off the ground, you don't really need to keep all of that in place to keep growing with Navy Federal. That's the gift with them. You bring that over to American Express, because when you start to tap into high limit credit cards with them, you start to look into their line of credit. They're going to be looking to underwrite the banking relationship. And if it's already under their roof, that's just more seamless transition to approvals for you. Now it doesn't stop there. Now that you've gotten into the door and developed yourself with American Express and you've gotten some quality credit cards there and graduated into a quality line of credit, now you can start to, hopefully you're now getting your business to a point where it's at that 6 and 7 figures in revenue point. Now you're in a space where you can start accessing private capital. Now you can go out and start finding investors, whether that be debt-based investors or equity-based investors. But the point of this is American Express and Navy Federal together laid the foundation and got you access to your first $100, $150, $200,000 in capital that you needed to get the business revenue to $250,000, $500,000, $1 million. The goal, being strategic, is for you to have what you need for cash flow management. expansion, innovation, equipment, hiring, the things you need when these opportunities come or when these economic rough patches come or just business rough patches come. You got the capital you needed from the Navy Federals and American Express and any other equivalent financial institutions. The bank was your first investor. Now you have something viable that you can sit down and pitch to friends, family, people at your different communities and subcultures you may belong to, whatever groups you belong to, other investors and well-off people out there who are looking to deploy their capitals into good business ideas and get good returns on their money. You can get debt-based financing from private money. You can turn around and get equity-based financing and private money. Either one of these capital injections has their pros and cons, but now you got the capital that you needed without anybody knowing what you had going on, without trying to rely on and lean on and tell your friends and family and they don't believe in you yet, or they don't see proof of concept yet. They don't see proof of market value yet to get behind you. I understand why the private money thing is so difficult. And that's the sequence I want to unlock for you. Start with the banks first. They have the most predictable, lowest barrier to entry form of funding you're going to get your hands on in many cases. People are more complex to get money from. I know that there's some really prominent people out there who are like, you should never borrow money from the banks. Get people to invest in your business. It sounds really sexy. And a lot of these people are just so successful. They think it's easier and simpler than it really is when you're an everyday person who doesn't have that kind of network, or you don't have those kind of social skills yet. You don't have those kind of pitching skills yet. You need to go to the bank because the bank is going to have a relatively fixed set of rules and parameters to qualify for their funding. And they're going to teach you how to access that capital because it works for their business. They want you to navigate that relationship. So if you position yourself properly, they're going to teach you. So you start with the banks. Once you've mastered that, you work your way up to private capital now. Now you're going to friends and families and successful people in your communities, your sphere of influence, if you will. Now you're tapping into that. Then, if you're still ambitious, you want to grow that business to 7 and maybe 8 figures. Now you go to private capital like family offices, hedge funds. Now you get to scale up. And if the small niche of you out there that are looking to go all the way to the top, you want to get to that 8 figures and beyond, the funding that you need at this point could potentially stay in the private sector, like family offices and hedge funds and things of that nature, or now you can start talking about positioning yourself for an IPO and getting the capital you need from the public. There's a lot of work to be done between here and there, but I wanted to give you at least an overarching framework from somebody who works in the banking sector, who works in banking and finance and deals with business clients and deals with higher levels of funding and working with other professionals who are doing higher levels of funding. This is how this stuff works. Start with the banks, get the standard levels of capital, build something that people can look at, touch, see. You can give projections, you can give numbers to, you can show them proof of concept, market value, and get them to invest in your business now. You get enough of them to do that, you keep scaling the business up. Now you can go to private offices and family offices and hedge funds. Graduating from there, if you're still ambitious, if you still have bigger goals or a bigger vision, now you can work your way into an IPO if that's what you want to do. But that's where it starts. I'm oversimplifying it for the sake of this video, but I hope you're able to follow the sequence that I'm laying out for you that many of us have never even been exposed to. Many companies aren't even IPOing anymore because the private sector money is so damn good. There's so much money out there now in the private space with less regulations and less hassle. And you keep more privacy and you keep more control of your company. But don't get me wrong, there's some tremendous advantages to graduating all the way up to IPOing your company and going to the public sector and the credibility and the access to capital that you get there. But there's a long road, and I just wanted to lay the foundation of how American Express and Navy Federal are two quality financial institutions that complement each other really well, because Navy Federal has a lower barrier to entry. It's still extremely credible of an institution. It has tremendous financial tools to get you off the ground, bridge you into an American Express that's going to give you much deeper pockets and much better products on the business side. That should get you the fuel that you need and the capital you need to get a successful business off the ground at some point that you can put in front of other individual investors and community sphere of influence individuals that just have money themselves. It's so much easier to pitch to individuals, families, and people in your network when you have something tangible that you've accomplished, that you've created already. So comment down below and let me know this makes sense for you. Comment down below and let me know, are you in the very inception idea phase? Do you already operate a small business? Are you already an entrepreneur? Let me know if you exercise any of these forms of capital, and specifically let me know what your relationships with Navy Federal and American Express are like. And have you ever noticed that these institutions can complement each other in helping you to get a better name and face and financial reputation to get better results with the next financial institution? Comment down below. I want you guys to like, comment, share, subscribe, support the channel so the channel can continue to support you. Links will be down below in the description if you want to tie in with me on Instagram. If you're looking to connect with me one-to-one to learn more about how I can help you with your personal financial needs or your business's financial needs, comment down below or get in the description down below. There's a link down there that tells you the areas I specialize in. Other than that, to all my pioneers, welcome back. To my new viewers, welcome in. I want each and every one of you to stay focused, stay in motion. I'll see y'all soon.